Hitchhiker. It was a warm summer night, and I was on my way back home after a long road trip with my friends. We had just finished college, and we decided to travel across the country to see new places and meet new people. As much as I enjoyed the trip, after weeks of living out of a suitcase and sleeping in cheap motels, I was exhausted and ready to head back home. I missed my family, my own beds, and home-cooked meals. I was driving on a long stretch of a deserted highway when I saw a man on the side of the road with his arm out trying to catch a ride. He was wearing a black hoodie and jeans with a backpack beside him. As I had just met some amazing people on my travels, I thought, what the heck, couldn't hurt to meet another. I slowed down my car and asked him where he was going. He said he was headed in the same direction as me, so I offered him a ride. As soon as he got in the car, I felt a strange sense of unease. He smelled of cigarette smoke and alcohol. I tried to shake off the feeling and focused on driving. We talked for a while and he seemed like a nice guy. He told me about his travels and his adventures, and I listened intently. After a while, I noticed that he was acting strangely. He kept fidgeting in his seat and looking around as if he was afraid of something. I asked him if everything was okay, and he said that he was fine, but I could tell that something was off. I turned up the music to soften the awkwardness of the silence that filled the car. As we drove further, I was so distracted by my own thoughts that I realized we were no longer on the highway. Instead, we were on a narrow road that was surrounded by dense forests. The road was dark, and there were no other cars in sight. I started to feel uneasy as I had lost my bearings of direction and wanted to turn back. Suddenly, he asked me to stop the car. He said that he had to pee and wanted to do it in the woods. I pulled over and he got out of the car. I watched him as he walked into the woods, and that's when I heard a strange noise. It was a low growl, like that of a wild animal. I turned on my headlights, but I couldn't see anything. I went to call out to the man and realized I didn't even know his name. I yelled, "Hey man, are you okay?" But he didn't answer. I waited for a few minutes, but he didn't come back. I was about to call for help, as I was pretty sure we had passed a local police station a few miles back, as I heard a tapping on the passenger side window. I turned to look and saw the man's face pressed against the glass. His eyes were bloodshot, and his face was twisted as he stared and smiled at me. I instantly tried to lock the doors, but they wouldn't budge. The man started pounding on the window with his fist and lunged into the car as he swung the passenger door back. I knew I had to get out of there. I hit the gas while pushing him away as hard as I could as the car started to pick up pace. The motion of the car put him off balance as I drove as fast as I could, my heart racing with fear and confusion as the man attempted to run after me. Who was he, and what did he want from me? I couldn't shake off the feeling that I had narrowly escaped an extremely dangerous situation. As I continued to drive, trying to catch my breath, I couldn't stop thinking about the strange noises I had heard in the woods and the man's odd behavior. Days turned into weeks as I arrived back home, but I couldn't forget that night and how my trip had ended. I became obsessed with finding out who the man was and what he wanted. I searched the news and social media, but there was no trace of him. Eventually, I decided to advise the police of what had happened. They dug up information on every missing person case in the area and found nothing. To this day, the vision of him still enters my mind. I can't help but feel that there is more to this story than I know.